Pop Culture is Dumb. Hosted by Zack and Jackson Miller.
Welcome to Pop Culture is Dumb. My name is Zack Eagles, and my co-host with me, as always, is Jackson Miller. Jackson.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing... Yeah.
You doing it?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
It's early. There's still a lot of time for something to go wrong today.
Yeah. You were telling me just before that you've been doing a lot of binging lately on House of Cards.
I have. I don't watch, to sound really cool and hipsterish, I don't watch a lot of TV. And by that, I mean I end up watching a lot of what my wife watches, which is...
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Oh, man. And
Women,
right, guys? We never ask for directions because we're men. No, but... So I watch things... very bingey, I think, probably like most people.
I'm like that too,
nowadays. Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially with Netflix, it's pretty much impossible not to binge because once you get so invested in something, it's like, I mean, it's the same thing with like the HBO Go app, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
I've been watching The Wire like crazy lately. Yes,
that's something I'm going to watch eventually.
Yeah, you should.
It's always in the discussion.
Very
for
good. Well,
like,
everybody always says that, Breaking Bad, and Sopranos, the best three sort of.
Of course.
They're all
How I Met
really
Your Mother,
good.
number 5. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Big Bang 4.
Big Bang 4, yeah. Big Bang 4 is the fourth movie in that sequel. But anyway, yes, I have been binging on House of Cards. I watched the first season shortly after it came out. I had a friend tell me that it was fantastic and I had to see it. So I probably binged that with my then girlfriend at the time over the span of a couple days.
Yeah.
It was about 12, 13 episodes.
It's one of those shows you can knock out in a weekend pretty easily.
Yeah.
It's obviously so like gripping and entertaining enough.
Not a lot of filler.
Right.
So we put off watching it until it's December 2014 now, for context for people. Yeah. For whenever this goes up.
Yeah. In
probably
like
next
a few
March.
years.
Yeah. It'll be really topical at that point. Boy, those elections were crazy, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
But anyway, so I stopped. We watched season 1, and I didn't watch season 2 forever. We just got sidetracked on all sorts of other shows, and I had people telling me constantly, season 2 is fantastic. Have you seen it? Have you ever seen House of Cards? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah.
And at this point, season 3 is coming out in February, I believe, of 2015.
Yeah,
something like
2015,
that.
2015. Yeah.
So in the past 2 days, we've watched the first 11 episodes, I want to say, of House of Cards. So we're pretty close. So I guess I'll avoid spoilers, I assume. Yeah. Maybe once I finish it, we can talk about the entire show.
Yeah, let's talk about the next episode, because I'd love to hear what you thought about the end of season 2.
The beginning of season 2
has we could talk about the new teaser trailer that was just released a few days ago, I think.
I'm curious to see it.
So it's pretty interesting. So basically, this podcast will sort of just be about pop culture in general, and a lot of theories we both have, and we will always bring in a guest. Today is our first show, so we don't have a guest today. We just kind of want to talk, but...
The chair next to me is very empty, and it's kind of strange.
It's sort of sad, yeah.
It's pretty
sort of
depressing.
pathetic. But, yeah, so, I mean, we're going to just talk about pop culture in general, and today we have a few topics we'd like to sort of dive into that are very topical.
Got a rundown, basically. We're pretty structured.
Yeah, we're real structured around my house.
All right.
Whatever
that
that
my
means.
coffee.
So today, we would like to talk about the best show on television history.
Have you seen it? Man,
it's
the special
so
effects are
good. Everything about it is amazing. The Walking Dead.
So have you seen the last episode of Talking Dead?
Yep.
They had those people.
Of course.
And they
Chris Hardwick, are you kidding me?
Chris Hardwick, yeah. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you know that?
Was he?
I heard.
Was he the raccoon?
He was the raccoon. He was the voice of the raccoon.
That doesn't sound right.
He wears a trash bag. He's got bipolar disease.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, so The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead is an interesting show.
Where to start with The Walking Dead?
You're not going to get
I want to hear... Why don't you explain to everybody your history with The Walking Dead?
Okay, my history with The Walking Dead. I'm going to start off with saying that I gave it a fair shot. I think naturally I have a kind of a predisposition to... If my friends or people I'm around have a really passionate opinion about something, like really strong, like if they're all
you
huge,
hate it.
I'm not going to say necessarily hate it, but I like to play devil's advocate, or at least I like to think about it.
Hipster.
I'll admit that there's that, but I gave this a very fair shake. I had people tell me all about it. They were crazy about it. It wasn't just my group of friends. It was speaking broadly, the internet culture seems to be into it. It does really great ratings, I've understood. So I waited until I think it was probably in season 2. I don't think I'd seen much of it at that point, but I decided that I would watch the entire first season, and I binged watch it as people would do. I watched it on Netflix. Yeah. Probably took a couple nights because there weren't that many episodes. I
think there was only like six in the first one. Yeah,
yeah, there weren't too many. I think the first episode was maybe like double length or something. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'm going to play that wrong, but I watched all of it over a span of a couple days. So my context for, I guess, zombies in general, even less so at the time Walking Dead came out. As everyone kind of knows now. Everyone kind of agrees zombies are kind of overexposed or played out, but they still work well as a device, being the enemy or whatever. It works well in shows and medium. That's why it's been done so much. I liked, I've seen, a bunch of the zombie movies, 20 Days Later, 20 Weeks Later, Land of the Dead, all that. Yeah. So I had I've seen a lot of zombie material. So watching Walking Dead, I thought it was horrible. I thought it was just terrible. And it was a very lonely road.
Be specific.
I will be very specific because I don't want to just say it sucked. That's reductive and useless. Watch the first episode. The first episode is probably the best episode that I saw of it because it was before everything started going downhill. So if I'm remembering it correctly, has been a while since I've seen it, but it's stuck in my mind.
So the first one, he wakes up.
He wakes up in the coma, and then he's and then the 20 Days Later music starts to play. Oh, wait, no. And then he wakes up and he's walking around down. Is he in the abandoned city, or am I really just getting mixed up?
Yeah.
Okay. So he wakes up, and then eventually he runs across. There's the old black man and his son who live in the town. Yep. Morgan, yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, so he comes back. He gets a name. Haven't seen anything beyond season 1. That character was...
And for people still watching it, Morgan has come back around.
Oh, okay. Because
don't want to give too many spoilers.
I thought he was the best character, or the most interesting of the characters.
He's a great actor.
Okay. Because that's probably why he stood out
Yeah.
from the rest of the pack. But, so I watched, and then he escapes, and that is in the entire first episode where he ends up in the tank with...
Yeah, at the end of it, yeah.
Yeah, that was... Everything up until the end of that episode was... inoffensive. It was kind of standard zombie movie.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of acting that had to happen in that episode, so that helped. But it ends, if I'm remembering correctly, with I don't remember his name, the little Asian American kid, Glenn. Yeah, Glenn, who looks like the Pokemon trainer with his baseball cap and just ends with Glenn like,
you really
hey,
went there, didn't you?
It was terrible. I don't like that character, but so it ends with Glenn like, hey, you in the tank. You in trouble or something, right? And then it pulls up.
Thank God he didn't try to do like a Korean accent.
I'm not doing... Glenn doesn't have an accent, if I recall. He's a pretty, just bland character. So he doesn't have much of any sort of real flavor going on. But it ends with that, and I was like, oh, that kind of was a weird tonal shift, because it was pretty, serious and bleak up until that point. So what's the entire series? I guess I'll if you're listening to this and you're interested in my opinion on Walking Dead, you probably have a much deeper knowledge and stronger opinion than I do in the positive direction of it. So I guess I'll just run over. Well, Zach, what was your...
Well, you are sort of the I don't know the right word, but I mean you're kind of like the outcast sort of in this situation, because you are one of the only people I think I know, maybe the only person that watched The Walking Dead at some point and stopped watching.
I'm proud to have that.
Which is pretty unique, because it shows how strong you are.
Yeah, I'm very cool, and I have unique, interesting hipster tastes. Yeah. No, but I watched the entire season. I gave it a fair shake. Yeah. I still have all my friends but you're right. All the people that were really into it are still watching it.
Well, for me, it was like, okay, well, I talked about this on Jeff Cyrus's podcast the other day.
SciPod.
It's on
Shout
SoundCloud.
Out.
SoundCloud, check it out.
It's going to get me some retweets.
Yeah. But anyway, I talked about kind of my history with Walking Dead on there the other day, which is sort of I remember when the season was about to start, the series was about to start, and my wife and I just seeing kind of little previews of it, and I had no idea what it was, never heard of the comics or anything, but it looked really interesting, and I was, really excited to sort of watch it. So from the very first episode, we watched it. And now into season 5, I'm still watching it.
5 seasons?
Yeah. And with every episode, at the end of it, I'm sort of like, why do I watch this show?
You should just listen to that.
Well, here's what happens to me. Okay, so the very beginning of every episode, I'm sort of like, okay, come on, something big is going to happen this week. And then 40 minutes goes by and not much really happens. And then the last 5 minutes, something big happens. And I'm like, now I got to watch next week's. And it's just sort of a cycle that happens.
You're being teased.
I guess so, but those guys are geniuses over there.
Oh boy, geniuses. That's a big word. So I watched all season 1. And there's a lot. I can get into the specifics of what's wrong with it if people really want to know. The acting is, I think everyone agrees, the acting was pretty atrocious for the most part.
Well, let's start there.
Okay,
so
Rick is awful. His southern accent is one of the most just...
Well, he's British.
That doesn't help. House, he's British too, right? He's not trying a southern accent,
right.
But he can act. So the theory that maybe all British people can't act, that goes out the window with
now,
just one example.
I think Andrew Lincoln actually has some moments in the show where he is...
Is he Rick?
Where he is pretty good. Now, most of the other ones I would say are pretty rough. Okay. But yeah, let's start there. So The Walking Dead, I don't think it's been nominated ever for an Emmy, definitely not like an acting Emmy of any kind.
That's
maybe like makeup or, the special effects.
It's probably gotten some sort of, back when they had real looking special effects. Because that is another thing. I saw the first season and I still run across people and they're like, and once I start telling them that the acting is bad, a lot of the story beats are just kind of recycled, predictable zombie fare, which is kind of how most zombie movies are. I don't know who the characters are. I remember early in season 1 when they have the camp, everybody comes back to the camp, and then the camp kind of gets raided by zombies.
Right.
There's a blonde woman who I think it's her sister dies.
Andrea's
sister,
dies.
Who I don't know. I didn't know who that was at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think you got a screen time of her, but you get. I have a rule in media that I see that if you want me to care about a character's death scene, their death scene should not be longer than I have seen them alive in an important way. And when this sister dies, it's supposed to be emotionally gripping. I don't remember her. I just met about 15 random characters.
That is almost how every character death feels on that show.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because that's true. Because I watched further into it. There's the cliche. I don't know.
Except in the mid-season finale that just aired for season 5. It aired last week. I don't want to say any spoilers, but a character that for some reason everybody acts like is a major character, but I really didn't know she was. I didn't ever think she was. But
she just survived long enough to become important.
Right, but she died and the whole world exploded. And now I've seen people that are starting petitions to try to get her back on the show and all this, which is so funny because, last year, not even that long ago, everybody was like, who cares about her?
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of characters die. She dies. There's the guy that gets bit and then they kind of leave him on the side of the road. He's just the random bearded, trashy guy. He dies.
Yep.
The one evil redneck, the racist redneck, at least appears to die. I'm sure he comes back later or something. I'm not sure. But I remember the end of the season, or nearing the end of the season. Let me say this also for context, because it's something we're going to get into later. I had recently, from when we started watching Walking Dead over the couple days it took, probably within the past few months, I'd been going through and watching all of Lost.
Oh.
The entire series of Lost.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it before. I'd seen bits and pieces.
Wait, you were watching Lost at the same time?
No, I'd finished it up probably within a few weeks of the end of... a few weeks before I started watching Walking Dead. So I was kind of trying to fill a void. I was like, what's the next show to watch? This has been,
right,
the tradition for a while. So I was looking for something. So maybe I had high expectations. But the time that Walking Dead rekindled my interest is like, okay, maybe there's something here. Was
governor?
I don't know if he was a governor. It was near the end of... It was maybe...
governor?
I don't remember a governor. It was midway through the season or something.
What an idiot. Everybody, right? He's an idiot.
Everybody remembers the governor. Boy, he was good. They get some sort of hidden transmission or something from the guy from the Truman Show.
What?
He's a scientist on Walking Dead, but he was Truman's friend in the Truman Show. Redhead guy. I'm sure he's done more, and he's very accomplished. But to me, he was the guy who's Jim Carrey's friend in Truman Show.
Yeah.
There's some sort of cast, and he's a scientist, and it's hinting
Jenner. His name is Jenner.
Jenner, okay. They're hinting at a big mystery or a big story. Yeah. And as someone who liked Lost, I like thinking there's more to something. I like ambiguity.
Well, that is sort of the problem with The Walking Dead is there's not much more than sort of what you see there.
They're the opposite of Transformers.
Right.
There's not more than... Somebody will get that. Zach didn't because he's not a good kid.
Right.
Anyway, so then they blow that all up by the end of the season.
Shia LaBeouf, okay?
I'm not talking about Transformers.
Well, here, let me throw some numbers at you.
Okay.
For Walking Dead.
Hit me with them.
And I want to hear what you think about these numbers. Okay, the season 5 premiere that was 8 episodes ago now was watched by 17.3 million viewers live at that time. Not like they DVR'd it and came back and watched it.
So with taking that into account, it's going to be a lot more. It's probably maybe 20 million
I think,
people.
Yeah, I think it was something like 22 or 23 million or something like that. So to put that into context, this is pretty funny, but High School Musical 2 that was the previous record holder.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd seen that movie or the show or whatever.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was good. I'm just for context.
Save that for another
My tastes are eclectic.
Terrible? Oh.
Bad, yeah.
So that aired in 2007 and that drew 17.2 million, and at that time that was the largest up until Walking Dead. But so that is talking about cable shows.
I would have lost that Jeopardy question.
Yeah, me too. That's talking about cable shows and those numbers are like live, like same day numbers, like people watched it as it aired.
Okay.
Not as it collected over time.
That's unexpected.
So this is a quote from the AMC president of the network, and his name is Charlie Collier, something like that.
Coulier.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know him.
Mm-hmm. Charlie and I are pretty close.
Is that your uncle? That's your uncle.
He's not going to like me blasting his show.
Oh, well, too bad, because that's all you've done the first 25 minutes of this thing. So this is what he said. The Walking Dead is one of those increasingly rare shows today that can command a live audience, not significantly cannibalized by time shift viewing.
Okay.
So
that makes sense. It's an event.
And, the president saying that's pretty obvious why The Walking Dead will go for 20 seasons, apparently, because they know that they've got the audience, and that's all. I mean, that's all they need, really. So,
and your earlier comment about how you watch the show and nothing happens,
right?
But then there's a hook at the end, makes sense. I mean, as far as stretching it,
especially at the end of a season,
yeah. See, Breaking Bad had the thing at the end where something by midway through there was almost like a cliffhanger hook at the end of every episode, but in between the start and finish of the episode, there was interesting things happening. There was a story. There were characters. There was acting
that was amazing.
But I won't compare it to Breaking Bad because that's unfair. But those numbers are pretty. I'm surprised that. Yeah, I'm still surprised at High School Musical 2. I would have thought one of the other episodes, even if it was just the premiere of some other Walking Dead episode.
I guess probably just because it was a sequel and the first one was so huge. Yeah, I suppose, but. And here's another stat from Variety that I saw. The median age of Walking Dead fans is 33 years old, which, the whole demographic of like 18 to 49, is that what it is? That whole demographic is what every TV show wants. And, forever Sunday Night Football was the leader of that demographic. And now Walking Dead has taken it from Sunday Night Football, which obviously is like a powerhouse rating wise, and the fact that Walking Dead was able to kind of swoop in and steal that. But so this is sort of what this podcast is all about. I really want to hear why you think everybody watches this show and why you think it is, because nobody really likes it.
That's the theory. That was and this was your theory, and it was a good one, because I didn't share it because
I really feel like it's one of those shows that, if you start talking to a stranger, like say you're in Starbucks and you guys just start talking about, favorite TV shows or something, and one of you says Walking Dead, and the other person instantly was like, really, you like that show? The other person that originally was defending it would suddenly be like, well, I don't know. Nothing really ever happens on it, but yeah, I like watching it.
I've had that conversation countless times with people who do like the show. No one's ever really able to give me good reasons. A friend of mine who I trash the show incessantly to, has kind of said, oh, but the zombies are really good. The effects are really good.
Right.
And I think that's somewhat true maybe for the first season. Because the first season, I understand there were a lot of budget disputes, but the first season had a bigger budget, I believe, and they were able to do a lot more practical effects.
Pretty crazy if you think about it, because as much money as they're probably making now. But...
You would have thought the president would have had a quote of like, hey, we're going to give their money back. Because I saw a lot of season 2 when I was over visiting friends around
Well,
that
they've also
time.
had like this is like their third. Is it their third or fourth showrunner? Also,
There's a
which
lot
the
of
other
turnover.
ones have been fired.
Yeah.
Or just quit. Or,
Because lately, I mean, all the seasons I saw of season 2 and the bits I catch here and there when I'm flipping the channels, the zombies look bad for the most part. Now that they've switched to CG, or at least a lot of them are CG.
well, and also now the zombies don't even really matter, which is also pretty weird.
Zach, we are The Walking Dead.
Right.
That's an incredibly unique perspective. Not every other zombie movie ever has been the real monster is man.
Wait, what if the Walking Dead show was just a symbol of our society, and they were showing that we have become the zombies by watching the Walking Dead?
The monsters aren't the zombies.
We are the
monsters.
Oh,
no, we're not the zombies. We're
wait.
the monsters.
Wait, what are we?
I don't know. This is confusing.
So let's get into Lost a little bit, because I think that there are a lot of similarities between the two. And I mean, a lot. But what's funny is Lost, will go down as one of the greatest shows ever, in my opinion, at least.
People turned on Lost. I think the general
at a certain
perspective.
point, yeah.
But
still,
I'm waiting for that to happen to Walking Dead.
it's not going to happen. I really don't think it will. But Lost, obviously, the acting was amazing.
For the most part, the acting was really good. There wasn't like a lead character that I can think of that was noticeably poor,
right?
That pulled you out or anything.
The characters were really amazing.
That's the thing about Lost.
Which sort of brings me to The Walking Dead, because I start thinking, if Walking Dead did flashbacks sort of like how Lost did, would Walking Dead be really good?
That was something I was wanting as someone who just finished up Lost, and the way they filled out characters was very interesting. With Walking Dead, I watched the full season, and I've seen a lot of season 2 and then bits of other things. Their characters that I saw were just so completely one-dimensional. You had wise old man with weird fisherman hat on. You had T-Bone, the worst. That is
T-Dog.
That is like, I feel offended for black people that's their representation is named T-Dog.
Well, here's one thing about Walking Dead now, the way it is now, is that it actually has probably the most like complex cast on TV, I would say.
It's diverse now.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, probably 3 or 4 black people that definitely 2 that are like, in the leading roles.
That's better then, because having
a
generic redneck,
like
generic
a
black
Korean,
guy.
Yeah. But I mean, there's like a Korean American now, and not now. I mean, he's always been there, but
he changed. He used to just be a black
Korean,
American, and
now he got his.
That was a weird episode when he got his citizenship. It was really strange. It was like this weird focus. It was just that one really long shot of him reciting.
Standing and saying
pacing issues. That show had pacing issues.
It still does.
Yeah.
Zing.
Oh. And yet you watch it. That's the whole crux of this argument.
Well, I know, and that's what this whole thing's about, because it's sort of like, why do people watch it? And we would love to hear from you why you
tell me why I'm wrong
watch it,
and why this show's great.
Bash Jackson,
because no one,
I guess, sort of bash me also.
Zach, to bring up the podcast you were on, Jeff Cyrus's SciPod podcast, our theory of nobody really likes it, but everybody watches it, or nobody can explain why they like it, comes true when Walking Dead gets brought up on that podcast. I believe it was episode 1 of SciPod.
Right, and Jeff said he liked it, but then I instantly changed his mind.
Zach's like, well, I watch it, but it's bad. And then Jeff seems to agree with him. I think people generally understand that people watch it, but there's a lot of problems with that show.
Yeah, it's sort of like, if you think about it for like, 5 seconds, you realize like, wait, do I really like this show?
Yeah. There's a lot. Well, I don't think we're going to be talking about Interstellar or Christopher Nolan in general this episode, but that's another thing where once you, in the moment, it's great, and when you start thinking about the movies, they kind of
Did you see Interstellar?
I did not see Interstellar.
Okay, well, let's save that.
I'll watch that because
I'll
suffer through that.
I've got a lot to say about that. Yeah. So let's jump over into the world of music a little bit.
Ooh, all right.
Do we have a music bumper?
All right, let's play it now.
Okay. Here we go, and play.
Guys, it's time to talk about music, okay?
Man, I can't believe we got the budget for that. When the levee breaks, that's a good one.
Do you want to shout out to your friend that made our music?
My friend who made our music, Will Gardner is his name. He's nice. That piece of music you heard is not representative of his typical output.
That's all.
That's all he does is make these fantastic child piano tinkering sounds. No, his band Jupiter's Incense, you can find them. They have released several albums. They just recently released one this year. They have SoundCloud, Facebook, all that stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff. I've known the guy for a while. He makes, if you're into kind of, I don't know, progressive space metal-y stuff.
Which I am.
It's a bad way to, it's a dumb way to describe it. Coheed and Cambria
the
type
most
thing.
Obscure
It's not
music you
bad.
can find.
He's not going to like the way I described it, but it's good stuff. They're talented guys out there in Virginia doing good work.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Foo Fighters.
Speaking of progressive space metal, the Foo Fighters.
Because, okay, so obviously Foo Fighters have their HBO show, Sonic Highways, which I think just finished last night. I haven't seen the newest episode, but I've watched every other one. And we both live in Nashville, and not too long ago on Halloween night, actually, they were here playing at the Ryman Auditorium, and their show, it was a huge controversy that ended up happening because a few days before, it was sort of like a secret show, where they were going to show the Nashville episode of Sonic Highways, kind of talk about it a little bit, and they were just going to play this secret show at the Ryman. So, 2 days or 3 days before their show, that's when they sold the tickets. And instantly, the tickets were gone like that. I mean, I went on to try to even buy some, and, there was none available, within 1 second of when they were supposed to be released. So I guess a lot of third parties ended up buying them up. Which,
heard a lot of resale kind of sketchy things
which
going on.
You couldn't even get in if they were resold. So it was this huge mess. But what was so funny is I remember for that brief 8-hour window in the news cycle around Nashville at least, where every radio station, news station, everything was talking about Foo Fighters coming to play, and this controversy that surrounded it. And I started thinking, Foo Fighters are sort of the Walking Dead of music, because it's sort of everybody, has listened to Foo Fighters, definitely. I mean, they have Monkey Wrench and Everlong and all these, Best of You, all these huge songs, My Hero, that everybody would say they like, but then you start to kind of get into it a little bit, and you're like, what is there that I really like about this band?
I think the Foo Fighters, they don't have the same kind of online credit, I guess. Everyone seems to like Walking Dead. Mainstream likes Walking Dead. Kind of the more hardcore audiences still seem to like Walking Dead. Foo Fighters gets a lot of crap from... They're not Nickelback to... and that's an outdated reference, but they're not kind of despised by or disliked by all music critics.
Well, and I think a huge part of that is Dave Grohl.
That's kind of where this conversation started.
Right.
Was we both really like Dave Grohl. I think everyone likes Dave Grohl. He's a very likable, funny, nice guy. And I just wish I liked his music as much as I liked the guy.
And it's just crazy because, we both love Nirvana, and we both love Them Crooked Vultures. And,
I just
obviously...
want him to be a drummer.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I love that side of him. And Foo Fighters, I think a really big problem that a lot of people have is the lyrics, that they're just so generic and not much really to them. And that's what makes Sonic Highways kind of interesting, because all those lyrics are pulled straight from the transcripts of the interviews that he's had with all these, Joe Walsh or whoever was there at the time. He just pulled lines straight from there. And those became the lyrics. They were actual words. And in that case, I think the lyrics are really good, on that album. But it's still one of those things where it's pretty much just... It's just so generic, everything about it. Sort of, it's like a little bit of a guitar intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, end.
It's
sort of the same thing.
Stuff.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's sort of everybody does that for the most part. But the bands that don't are the bands that are
a little more interesting,
right?
It's totally fine, non-offensive music, and there's it's sing-along stuff,
right?
And they've made some songs and bits of albums that are, I think, a little more kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I guess that's where I fall with compared to The Walking Dead, where everyone likes it and I don't, because I'm trying to sound cool, I guess.
Right.
I do like Foo Fighters fine. I like Dave Grohl. I wish I liked them more.
It is just one of those bands, though, that it's I like them.
Yeah, they're fine.
And everybody sort of feels that way, you know?
And people,
And it's actually a band that, you want to love just because of Dave Grohl, pretty much.
I wish they were better. They're totally fine, he makes inoffensive, fine jams, but I wish he would quit the band and they just make another Them Crooked Vultures album.
That album is amazing.
Because that, I guess we were talking about I'm not a musician. I don't have a lot of, so I don't want to try and talk song structure. You're much more involved.
Please.
Yeah, I'd sound pretty dumb, but just kind of the generic 3.5 minute pattern compared to even just Them Crooked Vultures with his drumming
just
is
like
far
6 or 7
more
minutes of
interesting.
just, And
Warsaw,
so many layers, and just everything about it, really.
If Dave Grohl wrote Warsaw, and it was a Foo Fighters song, it would become 4 different songs,
right?
And they would be 3 minutes long. And instead of changing so many times like it does with Them Crooked Vultures, it would
just
be reduced, and then it'd end and be like, here's the second one.
Right.
I wouldn't mash them together. It's sad. But.
So let's talk a little bit about another. Well, Foo Fighters aren't a Nashville artist, but a Nashville artist, Taylor Swift. Ooh. And I want to talk a little bit about this whole Spotify thing that just came up within the past couple of weeks about how she removed all her music from Spotify. And, there was the whole thing about Dave Grohl sort of coming out and people saying, I think people were asking him, are you going to leave your music on Spotify and that sort of thing? And he just said, yeah, because he really wanted everybody to listen to his music. And they don't really care. And it's kind of funny because obviously it's not like either one of them need the money.
That's the interesting point.
But it is sort of a thing like they're still producing something. They're still working for something. So just because they're making a lot, do they not deserve the money for what they're making?
I would have expected, and I'm sure this happens all the time. As I said, I have a few friends that, kind of independent artists, and they release things. And I know how incredibly hard it is to make any money off any of these services. So if it were an independent artist or a small artist pulling their money off that because they're not making enough of a cut, I totally understand that. So I would have expected the contrast to be between some smaller act versus them wanting to pull off to make a profit versus the big guys. So it's just strange to me.
I saw a great argument. I mean, somebody on my Facebook feed posted something about it when it all started happening, saying, well, I'm removing myself completely from Spotify. I'm supporting Taylor Swift and all that. But then, I mean, he just got destroyed by all of his friends and people on there that were saying, Spotify is such a great service for people for bands and artists that don't have really any kind of following because it lets them get discovered.
And I think the argument, I know there's been a lot of statistics about it, but helping to curb just rampant piracy.
Right, yeah.
Even if they're not getting, if they're getting a penny every 1,500 streams or whatever, at least it's more than nothing. And there is a discovery mechanism. I think it's better than just complete music piracy, that's something, I mean, when I was younger, the days of LimeWire, early days of LimeWire, I ripped a ton of music. And then eventually a couple years after that, I deleted everything and kind of had to change of heart.
Well, and a lot of that too is, I remember a few years back when Radiohead released one of their, I think it was In Rainbows, and 9 Inch Nails released their album, and both of them did it on like their own websites, I think. And
just pay what you want type.
Right, yeah. And there's a lot to that also, I think, because that's almost how Spotify works, to where it's not really like a pay as you want sort of thing. But what ended up happening was a lot of people downloaded the album even for free, and then wanted to buy like the actual hard copy, which nobody ever does anymore. But
didn't Radiohead change from that though? Because I'd heard they did the like pay your own, and they it didn't work out that well for them, so they released it standardly.
I don't know, but I know the 9 Inch Nails one did pretty good.
And I like
at least I don't know about the hard copy, but I mean, even digitally for both of them, I think they still sold a ton.
And I like the kind of, a lot of artists have done various kind of pledge campaigns, pledge music, Kickstarter, all that sort of stuff. Elaine Johannes, to pronounce a little better, recently did a pledge music where you could, I think it was maybe about $10. It was kind of the base price. If you help him reach his funding, and you'll get the digital copy and everything. Wow. I think that's another kind of direct to consumer. And
Spotify, for like we were just sort of talking about it, like bands and artists that don't really have any kind of following, it's that's really, other than like touring, I mean, that's really the only way they can really get their name out there.
There's a lot of noise,
if you have it on radio or whatever. But
and I think that's the barrier to entry is tough. If you're a no-name independent artist, it's hard to get anyone to pay any money up front for your music. I mean, I'll do that all the time, where just kind of perusing various means of trying to discover new bands. if someone's like, hey, check out our new album, we just released it, I don't feel great about it, but I will definitely listen to a new album if it's free and I can just download it off their Bandcamp page and I'll check it out. And if I like it, I'll try and find a way to throw their money or buy the next album. But if it's $7 for some act I've never heard of, I'm not likely to check it out. Right. It's just, I very much feel bad for any sort of independent or small artist trying to get discovered or
now I would say, do you use Spotify or no?
I use it very, very infrequently. I used it the other day for the first time in a while. I find the stuff I like, I listen to a lot just through iTunes, or I'll kind of peruse other things. But Spotify works great. I mean,
I use it all the time, and I still buy albums all the time too. Especially if I find a band on Spotify I really like, then I'll go buy the album. Just I really want to get in depth into it and listen to it nonstop. But recently I've been finding all these bands that I'm just falling in love with that are amazing, and I wouldn't have known them if I didn't listen to Spotify. Really,
I think I've definitely done that. Find something. I've used Amazon has a free upcoming artist or something every month. They release like 15 tracks. Right. Yeah. I found several that I like through there. I go ahead and purchase the album. I'm sure. I mean, maybe we're a weird case in that we do still buy a lot of music. Yeah. Maybe most people just kind of if you can get everything you need through Spotify, or you can pay for the premium service. Right. I could understand, artists suffering from that, and I definitely feel for them in that way. But
well, here I just pulled up on Spotify's website. It's like it's press.spotify.com. So I don't know if these numbers are constantly updated or not, but paying subscribers on Spotify over 12.5 million, and active users over 50 million.
That's more than Watch Walking Dead. That's a tie-in.
Ouch.
To the previous chapter.
And the number of songs over 30 million. And number of songs added per day over 20,000. So, it's obvious that people are using it, and I think it's great personally.
If it has helped curb piracy, which I've heard and read bits that it has, and I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm all for it. If it gives people some way to give them an avenue to discover or pay for more,
right?
I'm all for that.
So let's talk. I want to hear your opinion on this. What music are you listening to right now that is not really considered popular music? Either it's not on the radio or whatever, but maybe it's something that you've been listening to a lot that you think should be, or it could evolve into that.
Yeah, let me throw out my really cool hipster underground tastes. I really need to bring up something incredibly generic that I'm a fan of, so that I don't sound so negative and.
There has to be something.
Let's think of something. Modern Family. I like that show.
No, there you go.
I'm not even. Yeah, it's a funny show.
It is funny.
For like I'm gonna stop putting on kind of qualifiers. It's a really good show. It's probably my favorite broadcast comedy. Anyway,
Parks and Rec.
Here's Jackson's hot underground band tastes.
Oh wait, let's get a bumper for that.
All right, hold on. Let's bring it in.
Jackson's hot underground band tastes.
There it is. Okay.
Man, I can't believe
go ahead.
We can afford Gimme Shelter. That's talking about underground song. I'll just throw out a couple. This is one from Amazon's free Artist of the Month about a year or so ago. They're called Two Gallants. I'm sure it's Gallants. I don't know.
I haven't heard.
I believe they're out of Seattle. They are really good. Speaking of random ways to discover music, I think it's KCRW is a YouTube. It's like a radio station in Seattle. I could have that slightly wrong. They do a lot of really excellent. Kind of in studio shots of artists performing. Cool. Two Gallants has a really good live session on there. I think they've probably had a handful of albums. The last one was really great that I listened to. Bloom in the Blight, I want to say is the name. If you're into something that's kind of I'm not good at classifying it. It's two guys, kind of acoustic guitar, maybe some electric guitar kind of stuff. If you're into, I want to say Swedish kind of stoner rock, I think is the genre. If you Queens of Stone Age or Caius or any of that sort of stuff. Truck Fighters is a really cool band. They've had about 3 albums. Their first album is the one that I can speak to the most because I've listened to it. Gravity X, I want to say it's called.
Okay.
Really cool stuff. In a similar vein, Loading Data is again, very Queens of the Stone Age style. You can tell where my music tastes kind of come from. I believe they're French. The lead singer has an incredibly deep voice, and he looks like Elvis, and he kind of sings like Elvis at times.
It is
and
Elvis.
Works. It might be reincarnated Elvis, and it works really well. Elaine Johannes, who I mentioned earlier, who was from Queens and Them Crooked Vultures, helped produce their album
Cool.
Double Disco Animal Style, I want to say. And there's I got the new Lordy album for free on Google Play the other day.
Lordy?
Lord? The Royals song?
It's just Lord.
Is it Lord? Okay.
Yeah.
I got that one for free.
Have you seen the South Park stuff with her recently?
I'm not. I'm behind on South Park.
Oh, gosh. Let's talk about that
That's
next
a popular
time.
show that I like.
Yeah.
I like South Park.
Let's talk about that next time because there's some great continuity stuff on South Park this season. But anyway,
save it.
finish up your music.
Okay. This. I didn't plan for this. This is not on my notepad.
It was on mine.
There was another. I got
Stump Jackson.
Jeez. There was another popular song that I really liked. I was getting a lot of crap for because I'm supposed to have like cool tastes or something. But I was like, I just like this song. It's really well. I got the Imagine Dragons album for free.
Nice.
And then as I was leaving today, I mean, it's all right. I'm not really into it. But as I was leaving today, I was using the Chromecast to kind of just throw a random YouTube shuffle. And the video for their biggest song, what's it called?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's whatever their big. It's the Imagine Dragons song. It's the big.
I don't know the
radio
name, but
something.
I would know if I
Radioactive, maybe is
Yeah,
that
that's it.
Okay,
That's it.
it was the video for that with the puppets fighting.
I
I was
haven't
like,
seen the video.
I was like, this song is very popular, and this is a really unexpectedly interesting music video. It's Puppets Party. Look it up. And that concludes Jackson's Underground Cool Radio Music Hour.
This has been Jackson's Hard Underground Band Tastes.
Okay, good. So let us talk now really quickly and end this thing on movies.
Okay.
Because there is a new trailer that was just released that you would like to talk about. And what trailer is that for?
Okay. Let's give a little background to this.
Okay.
Because so far, I've been negative about Walking Dead. I was fairly negative about Foo Fighters. I had my own underground music segment.
Yeah.
And
And that was the show.
And that was the
Thanks for
show.
joining.
And I was really uneducated about the specific music business, but I tried to get my opinion on Spotify. So far...
And you said Lordy.
And I said Lordy. And I wasn't
Lordy.
trying to make a joke, which would have been funny if I was, maybe.
Yeah, it was
Or
still
it would
funny.
have been... Okay, good. So...
At your expense.
yeah, that's the thing I'm struggling with. So, Star Wars, it's a lot of strong opinions of people.
Yep.
I'm not rare in any way. I'm in my mid-20s. I grew up loving the original Star Wars movies. I saw the prequels that came out. I was pretty young when those came out. I don't know
me
what
too.
year it came out, but I was probably 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was young, and of course, when I watched them, I loved them
I did
because
too.
I was a
When
dumb
I was
child.
a kid, I did too.
I remember I had a sister of mine had a boyfriend at the time who was a huge Star Wars nerd. After we saw episode 1, he was telling me about episode 2, and he was probably 18 or something like that. She's a few years older than me. And I remember very vividly and kind of shamefully now asking him, as he was describing episode 2 of Attack of the Clones, I asked with really eager voice, does it have another pod racing episode? Is there more pod racing? Because I thought that was so great. And he was like, no, it doesn't. So I'll spare my long-winded thoughts on the prequels because they're not rare. I think everyone is kind of churned on the prequels.
Well, it's funny, anybody our generation that grew up with those as our Star Wars movies. I mean, obviously, I saw the originals before I saw those, but still, those are what I grew up, Phantom Menace and all that. And that stuff, when I was a kid, I was like, this is amazing.
And people, there's the kind of old rebel Star Wars nerds who I definitely side with more, who just despise the prequels.
Yeah.
There's still people I ran across that really defend them, like, well, it's Star Wars. It's still Star
Right.
Wars. And I think we can do an entire hour on each of those movies
Right.
sometime about how bad they were and
Right.
how much they just watered down everything. The greatest lightsaber fight, in my opinion, was Luke hacking not gracefully at all at his father, or Darth Vader toying with him. It wasn't them riding lizards for 20 minutes. Everyone having a lightsaber, and it's not. I'm not treading new ground here, so I'll
get
say
a lightsaber. You get a lightsaber. You get a lightsaber.
I'll spare my thoughts on that. So the trailer, the teaser that came out finally.
Yeah.
Okay, it was about 6 shots. I was very eager to see it. I've tried to avoid reading a lot of the casting news and the rumors. I've heard some rumors that seem strange, about Luke killing Han and there being a floating hand or something.
I haven't seen any.
I can't vouch for any of that. I just read it, so it's probably fake. But what I'm going to do is I can tell you what the plot's going to be for the first movie. So there's 3 movies I know. They're bringing back
just that?
From that. So they're bringing back Han, Luke, and Leia.
Right.
I'm assuming for just some sort of castaway cameo role in the first movie to kind of set up the larger story, because I don't think we're going to see old Han and old Luke fighting the Sith man in the teaser.
Yeah. So
it opens up, and you see who I assume is going to be named Hondo Calrissian. He's in the Stormtrooper outfit, and he's really afraid, and he's running around the desert. And I could tell you he's Hondo Calrissian because clearly he's Lando's son.
Right.
There were, I want to say, 6 black people in the original movies.
Right, yeah.
2 or so of them are just nameless rebels, and then there's like 1 Stormtrooper maybe. So obviously, according to the Star Wars law...
he could be Han and Leia's son.
Why is he black, Zach? Look, I don't want to be the one to say
Maybe he adopted.
There were no black people in Star Wars. That's the... I'm not the racist, and I'm not saying George Lucas was. But Mace Windu is a Jedi. He can't have children, or he's not supposed to. He was a good... he obeyed the law. I didn't see all those kids that got slaughtered by Anakin. I didn't see one of those that were Mace Windu's.
Right.
So that guy, when I first watched it, I was very intrigued. I was like, oh, they're going to give us like the Imperial kind of perspective, maybe, because there's about half the shots. There's the Stormtrooper at the beginning. There's the Stormtroopers landing at D-Day. You see X-Wing later. And then you have the Sith Lord with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
So, but then I kind of thought about it pretty quickly, and I was like, oh, they're probably doing a kind of throwback to when Luke and Han were dressed up as stormtroopers, and Chewie should have been, because that would have been a really good visual with his fur poking out. So I think that we're going to get them kind of fighting off the last bits of the Empire to set up whoever this new Sith Lord is. Because something I heard, and so I'm kind of regurgitating it, but I thought it was interesting, was how you see the Sith, he has the lightsaber everyone's very hopped up on because it has the hilt, which is pretty stupid. Why does he have... that's practically, it seems dumb. But people are getting really worked up about that. If you've seen the prequels and consumed any Star Wars related media since then, they've done pretty dumb stuff.
Right.
There was the Clone Wars animated series that was pretty good, and then they did like a CG one recently. But Star Wars has become a joke. There's no sanctity to it anymore.
Right.
I think that's kind of silly. But instead of showing Jedis with lightsabers to conquer it, they just show the Millennium Falcon. And so I'm hopeful they tone down the amount of lightsabers in this new prequel.
Yeah.
But what it's going to be...
I doubt it, but...
Here's the plot. I've been beating up... Yeah, they probably won't. Because people
Abrams.
cheer for that when Yoda flips and all that. The plot of the first movie is going to be... You're not going to meet the Sith guy, who will be the villain for the rest of the movie until about midway through. And one of the trilogy heroes is going to die. I think it's going to be Han. Because I don't think Harrison Ford wants to sleepwalk his way through 3 new movies. He's going to get killed at the end, and whoever the new hero is.
He broke his ankle during filming, right?
Which means he was doing some sort of stunt. Actually, I don't think it was. I think it was just some sort of fall. He's old. So
I think he tripped. Honestly, I think he tripped walking into the Falcon or something.
That's why we should just make it out of CG.
Yeah,
these practical effects.
Much easier.
These practical effects. Just have him walking and talking, and walk and talk, green screen, stand at the window, sit down on the couch. The couch. Every Star Wars, there's a lot of sitting in those prequels. Walking, sitting on couches, walking out to the window, stopping, 2-shot over the shoulder, flip.
Wow, you have really broken this thing down, haven't you?
I have not broken this thing down. I'll definitely say there's an incredible series if you're someone like me who wants to spend multiple hours watching someone break down a Star Wars movie.
Nerd alert. I'm
not going to deny that. Red Letter Media does a lot of great stuff, but they got their most attention early on for doing a several-hour review of The Phantom Menace. It's done in a comedic style, but the guys know a lot about films. They really break it down. Then he did one for each episode.
Cool.
And it's definitely worth your watch. It's easy to find. It's got a lot of attention, but it's really great.
Okay.
And that's my Star Wars minute. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. I think,
hesitant.
Yeah, I think it's going to break a lot of records.
I think it's going to be a good, solid movie. Just like the Star Trek movie. The first one, I didn't see the second one. Totally fine.
They're both
inoffensive.
I thought they were both pretty good.
Not really what Star Trek was about, but I
was never really
fun.
into Star Trek at all, and I saw both of those, and I liked both of them. I thought they were pretty good.
They were totally fine. And I think the new Star Wars will be totally fine.
I kind of like the direction this new one has gone with not really casting like huge name people other than obviously the 3 originals, but the fact that they've got all these other actors in there, I think it's going to really help sort of sell the world, you know?
Because that's definitely something when I'm watching like a George Clooney movie or something.
Right.
It's hard. Someone of that caliber is hard to like be like, oh, he's not
past them. Yeah. Right.
So if they blend into the universe, that's kind of why Samuel L. Jackson seems so out of place. Ewan McGregor seemed to just the casting choices of past movies where you have these huge celebrities is
right.
I like blend them in. I agree with that.
Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, that was probably that was a mistake.
I mean, he had having to have a purple lightsaber was an interesting choice. I mean, as a result of that, all the Star Wars video games I played around those years, you could have all sorts of lightsabers. You could have yellow lightsabers, you could have purple lightsabers, you could have orange lightsabers.
And the lightsaber lost its meaning.
And the lightsaber completely lost its meaning. That's
supply and demand, baby.
They demanded more lightsabers.
Yep. Well,
that's why General Grievous had 4. All right, I'm done. Enough about the Star Wars. Don't want to get me angry.
Shall we end the show?
Is anyone there?
Anybody there?
Anyone listen to this?
Yeah. Hello.
Trash heap for 20 minutes.
Well, here's the deal. Find us on social media and bash us on there. Tell us what we should talk about on our next episode. We're going to have some really cool guests coming up, I think, in our next few episodes. So stay tuned for that.
It'll get better, I promise.
It'll get better once
if they want to find us on social media, how are they going to if we don't tell them what our handles are? Is that it?
Yeah.
Handles? Usernames?
Right. Well,
yours is?
Mine is at Eagles_Zack, Z-A-C-K.
Is that Twitter?
That's Twitter.
What about your Vine account?
Oh, gosh. On Vine, I've actually just started a Vine with both of my brothers, which I need to show you. It's pretty stupid. But
really? Because your old stuff wasn't.
Look on Vine for Eagle Boys.
Eagle
Boys.
One word. That's a good name.
It's terrible, but you'll not like it.
That's probably true. I'm going to say Artwork Fartwork, if you can still find that on Vine.
Find that,
Look that up.
That was my original Vine.
That's something Zack used to do. So, and if you want to, if you think I sound kind of snotty and annoying, and
they do.
You're like, why is this guy talking trash about anything? What has he ever done? You're right. I've made a lot of garbage in my own time too. I'll probably rework some of that. Because I've recently, so I made all these horrible sketches, as I think most people who are interested in video or film or anything like that back in high school. They're really bad. A lot of them I pulled down. A lot of them are still floating out in the ether. So before we start airing these, I'm probably going to take all those down.
No, leave them out.
I'll
leave them out.
I'll rework them and I'll throw them up there in some more sort of orchestrated way. I have a Twitter. I think it's Swanky Jacks that's the weird username I picked.
You know what we need to do?
Very
Let's just
inactive.
make a Twitter for this show, and people can bash us on there.
We should just do that because mine, I don't use it. I'd use one if I had a reason, but if you look it up to say something to me, it's going to be not responded to and pretty boring.
Well, let's plan on making one, and on our next episode, we will tell everybody what it is.
And we'll have it in the liner notes once we build, the website with all its interactive flash games, where you can like guide Zack
with our characters, with our lightsabers.
Yeah, you can do. This podcast is dumb and you are too.
Yeah,
this is going to be one of the games.
This is a work in progress, people. So stay with us on this one. This has been Pop Culture is Dumb. I am Zack Eagles.
I'm Jackson Miller.
Thank you for joining us.